Okay, this is the OXO Good Grip silicone steamer, and you'll notice it's, a flexible silicone. It has 4 feet on the bottom. The feet have discolored a little bit over time, but that really hasn't affected anything. I've had this, I'd say, a couple of years now, and as you can tell, it's in just as good shape basically as it was when I got it. It has these fold creases right here so that it can become smaller, and this part up here is a handle which can connect like that. Now my only complaint is that when you put it in a pot, and I'll show you in a minute, but when you put it in a pot that's a smaller pot, these tend to sort of get pushed off, and then every time you have to check, if you open the lid to check it or whatever, the handles will come separated. But that's a very mild complaint, but anyway. Okay, let me show you. I typically use this in my, I think it's a 1.5 quart Revereware pot. So if you put it in there, you'll notice, okay, obviously the diameter of the pot is much narrower than the diameter of the silicone strainer. But if you push it, then you will notice that those fold lines fold nicely. And you can then close this like so. And let me show you the lid, which I apparently left over here. If you put the lid on, oops, it fits just nicely. Now, like I said, these things tend to pop up, and when they do, then you constantly have to find yourself either going like this with the lid, pushing it back down again, or having to do this, and reconnecting it, and then putting the lid back on. These do stay cool, to the touch, which is a very nice feature. Okay, as you will notice, this is very solidly in there, and this is what I typically use it with. This is very solidly in there, so it's not going to have any problems with bending or misshaping or that sort of thing, and that's what I typically use it with. Okay, but let me show you something else, and this is the only drawback I have to this silicone strainer. Typically, before this, I had one of those metal ones that sort of like a flower petal that unfolds. This one right here does not hold its form quite as well as the metal ones, and you wouldn't expect it to. But I put it in a larger pot here, and you'll notice it fills up the whole diameter, so these fold lines are not going to be folded. Okay, let me show you what happens when you put in some heavier objects. Okay, say you want to steam some bell peppers. Okay, you put in a bell pepper. One bell pepper in the middle works just fine. You put it on the side, and it tends to sink towards the, I don't know if you can see that, but it tends to sink towards that side. Okay, so if you need another one to balance it out, you put it in here, and it's still sinking a little bit. And you put in a third one, and it's definitely sinking. It's not gonna, it'll still cook, but it has to be rearranged, and it's just sinking. It doesn't hold its shape nearly as well with heavy objects, or if you have lots of food, it won't hold its shape nearly as well. You could do the same thing in the smaller pot, and it would stay just fine because it has the extra support of being snugly in the sides. But in this larger pot, it does sort of tend to collapse on itself when you put in heavy objects or a lot of food or that sort of thing. So that's my review. It does clean up well. It's super easy to scrub. I have not tried putting it in the dishwasher, but I suspect it would go just fine in the top rack of the dishwasher. I can smell it. Yeah, and I've had it for 2 years, cooked all sorts of things in it, and it doesn't smell. So it's not absorbing the smells. It's working extremely well. So that's my review for the OXO Good Grip silicone steamer.